Yo. 0 people watching. That's the way I like it. I like my privacy. Get out of here, bots. You bots are here. If you're watching this later, if you're a time traveler, Paula Sards, what's up, man? Quick on the draw. Check out the banana. This is a stream similar to last night. I'm just doing it for that final little push of motivation for me to get a little bit done. I think I will get what I hope to get done is all 3 of these kind of super detailed pages. Paula says, I'm watching this from the future. So page 56, 57, 58. This is the huge dinner scene with like just, lots of commotion and everything. And the big reveal of the main dish is a giant banana. 7 people watching. How's it going? From Earth. A giant banana. We can make anything on Earth. You can make anything bigger with hormones. We decided to make the biggest banana we can for our guests. Something like that. I forget the dialogue. So the thing is, this is a full page spread. This is not that much more drawing. I mean, it's like a panel, even though it's a full page spread. Some of these panels are more detailed, and kind of my style of how I draw it sort of doesn't matter if it's big or small. It's going to take about the same time to draw. The banana. And then at the foot of the banana is just some whatever grapes and stuff. I already got a lot of this worked out in the roughs, but you can kind of see the perspective is like we're looking up, 3-point perspective, kind of intense. Here's the evil eye that rules temple 1, and I think I'm just going to draw it like as a regular old eye. Like, do I make it bloodshot? Do I make it like floating and energetic? I can't decide. So then here's dwarf dude. This is kind of a wide angle, so things closer to the camera are exponentially larger rather than things if it's a longer angle. I wish there was like an easier way to explain that. It's kind of hard to explain how that works. I wonder if I can try and explain it. Is this going to even... So here's like an exponential curve. Should I flip it? This maybe? Yeah. This is kind of like, this is big things close up. They get smaller as you get further away. But if you do, that's like a regular shot. So you could do a shot, it's like this part of this is a zoom angle shot. and that's your curve, or this could be your shot, or this could be your shot. This is a wide angle, everything, the whole field of view. And you get this really extreme curve where things are huge when they're close and they're tiny when they're far away, but they get part of, even in this, you could see the ones that are, it's like the joke in the Monty Python Quest for the Holy Grail, where they do the long shot and Lancelot's running towards the camera, but he's not getting any bigger. That's because he's right here. He's on this straight line. So he would run. He's not getting any bigger. Then he gets a little bit bigger. Then he gets really big, and then he stabs you. That's the thing for animation too. Like if you are animating something coming towards the camera and you make it evenly bigger every time, like if you do the graph like that, so it's just even a little bit, it looks robotic and terrible. But if you make it exponential, it looks amazing. But then it's just this question of the angle of your lens. If you're doing a zoom shot, then you can zoom in on the section of the graph where it gets way more straight. That's almost like isometric, super flat. That's kind of where you'd have foreground, midground, background. And that's where a lot of like 90s Marvel is drawn, actually, like around here and here. They don't do too much of the super wide shots because they take a lot more work to set up the perspective. These you can just do foreground, midground, background, and it looks cool. But these you have to do like a perspective grid, think about 3-point perspective, everything. And a lot of European comics do that, but a little bit less American comics. And I suspect American comics, some people don't even know how to do it, including me, like up to like 3-4 years ago when I figured out some of this crap. Animation helps. Some of the cross like pollination helps like learn stuff. Crystal McGee, what's up, everyone? Crystal McGee's campaign is still live if any mods want to post. Oh, nice. Dale's one step ahead always. Nice job, Dale. Thanks for doing that. But yeah, I'll close this. Do not save. Okay, back to drawing this giant banana. A giant banana from Earth. There's a monkey. There's monkey brains too. And then I think I put some like soup on the menu. Some kind of like. It'll. Everyone's got a goblet too. The goblets, they got to be sort of in perspective. So I got to think about this. But if it's a wide angle, sometimes you can think about it as like, I think, the vanishing point is like somewhere here. Anything above that, we're looking up at. Anything below that, we're looking down at. So if you picture it that way, like all these plates, we're looking down on them so we can see. I'm kind of just filling it with crap right now. So you can see what's on the table. Monkey. That monkey looks weird. So here's and here's the kind of giant prisoner guy. Nosferatu looking sort of dude. And his hands are under the table on this one. Maybe get that perspective better. And then what's my order? It's on 57. Then there's like this egg-shaped guy who I threw in at the last second because there was too much space on this table. So I'm like, I'll add one more dude right there. And I think he might not be drawn in the earlier one. He would be, yeah, he would actually just be hidden there, which is maybe okay. And yeah, crap, actually, he should go right here and she should be dragged over a little bit. But I could say he was late and he added, I don't know if that's a continuity error that people would notice. I don't know if I can live with it or not. This panel ended up kind of fun, you know, above the table, below the table. You got the little, I'll take this off. You got the little reveal. 40% said, "What's up?" Narwhal and Shelby. Who's Shelby? I don't mean to duel with Shelby. Yellow Flash is streaming too. Crap. What should I do to solve this? It's just this panel. If I drag her over, I don't know. I'll leave it for now. It'll be months before this gets published. If it's still bugging me, I'll fix it. There's the little guy. He sneaks in. I could give him some dialogue. There's the monkey brain for dinner. The first course. The last course is a giant banana. I don't know what kind of details I want to put on this banana. Bananas, they sometimes have like these little strands. This is a already opened banana. We'll try that, I guess. And this guy's he's kind of a hunchback, so I think he is all the way back. We have some guards. One guard with a little halo mask. Not guards, more like servants. So here is this guy. fitting in. We're just going to see him. I don't know. This guy could have. I have nobody with glasses, so I'll give this guy glasses. I'm gonna maybe give this guy a mustache too. It's like an egg head. Whatever. Sometimes you make a side character and you're like, ooh, I love him. I want him to have his own spin-off. Sometimes you make one and you're like, he's stupid. But you kind of want, sometimes you want them to be like, you know, like forgettable, or the audience not to pause and become obsessed with them or whatever. All right, I got to get Amelia's head here. Everyone's kind of looking up at the banana. So she'll. It looks got kind of the appeal there, I guess. Got to get her hair just right. Much of it is obscured. Much of her body is obscured too. And here's like her food. Should I draw her? I will have. Okay. And then sumo guy leaning in, and he's bald. And WizKid is behind him, but so he's just obstructed. Actually, he won't even be in this shot. Those guys, those guys, those guys. Then there's like these. Things are flying. Does that look okay? Does it look like they're sort of flying it off? I guess, maybe. I got to do the other side of the table. I got to do these giants. Romy, what's up? Delay. Is that the giant banana? It is. Looking pretty close. This is going relatively fast. The stream is 20 minutes in. I might be able to bust all this out. I've gotten a little more warmed up since last night where it took me forever just to do one little panel. I drew him and I'm gonna have to draw over him. That's okay though. We're really looking up at these guys, like almost straight up. So that's kind of like how they look. I gave them horror mouths, monster mouths. Okay. I think that's fine. Maybe his head is smaller. They have really tiny heads that makes them look even bigger and stronger. Because they're so much in the background, sometimes I might make their lines transparent, but I'll do that later. Okay. So now, who do we see? Cannonbridge. It's Peter Cannonbridge. I give Peter Cannonbridge one more joke guy and then the girl. Peter looks kind of like the dude from have him holding his wine, maybe. So we're gonna do this. Popeye. Those dudes. How is he sized to the other side? That looks okay. And Cannonbridge. His arm is like across. Cambridge has it's like a knight, I guess. And then one more jokey guy. I haven't really even fully designed the girl. Another girl who, this is a girl who doesn't have stuff to do. There is a girl, this girl gets kind of a lot of stuff to do. And she's like kind of a cool character. These people, I have stuff to do for like, I don't know, it's almost, it's like over 20, which seems really high, you know, almost too high. This is just like a Girl. Here's this guy. Alien guy. But if you end up with characters that don't have stuff to do, kind of want to hide them or kill them, cut them completely. But like her, there's 13 sponsors, so there needs to be like, as many as like 30 people fighting. This one that's going to be. She's looking up. I zoom in. Even though she's not a character, I'm not giving her satisfaction here. Here we go. She deserves to look pretty at least. She has that kind of haircut. Then people see her and they do kind of wonder, like, what's she doing? Which is, again, I don't know if that's good or bad. Could give her big old muscles. And this guy is totally cut off by the banana. I give him. Build up more grapes and fruits around here. I don't think I need to. I think I can just flatten that. Or no, I have. There's a few lines that need to be erased. Bridge. Make that blank. Cool. Then let's separate these guys. One kind of funny thing is line thickness is like almost the same as transparency. Like I can make these lines thinner or I can make them more transparent. And it's the same, it makes it read as thinner over this eye too. Oops. Did I do that right? Got it. And then maybe I could mess with a few lines, making them thinner. Just to see what's up. Scale down with. And give a little 3D to it, and then maybe the very foreground. Scale up with. And then you're going to draw this guy back in here. Okay. The banana. Now, I don't know about those details on the banana. Well, let's see. This went relatively fast. That's nice. Let's see. Okay. I can go boom. And just a little bit. Yeah, I think I like the banana without the details. Cool. So that page is pretty much done. Well, done. Now I got to color it, but all the characters are there. With the perspective, actually, maybe this is worth messing with. These guys could actually be a little bit bigger, but if I make them bigger, they kind of, yeah, like crop out. I think I might just leave it because it's kind of fun. Makes the table look pretty big. What's up, everybody? 15 people watching. So that's kind of all I had to do tonight. That wraps up this second chunk of 8 pages. So I got 16 pages done, not colored, but they're all like drawn and ready to be colored. And then lettering ends up taking kind of a long time for these projects too, because I do a lot of final drafting during the lettering phase, which just kind of for Earthbound more than other stuff. Other stuff I just stick to the original script, but Earthbound's kind of fun trying to keep some weird energy the whole way through. So I'll redraw stuff, I'll change stuff, add stuff. And you're also trying to keep like the overall continuity and everything, but that's not too crazy. The script helps you keep a lot of that, and then you can still within that have fun and mess with it. Like I think the banana was not in the script. I just added that while I was drawing. Jose Garcia, that was super fast. Thanks, Jose. I can't draw 12 hours a day like Jose can, though. I might ask you, I'm going to have you on soon, Jose. We'll figure out a time for you to come on to promote Jose's campaign, Second Chance for Lumina Vox. If any mods want to post the link in the chat, everyone. That one's fresh, too, so definitely take a look if you haven't, everyone. That's a brand new fun campaign. But I want to ask Jose how he manages to work many hours a day. Maybe it's like habit, you force yourself to do it. I kind of start to fade after even like 4 hours of like kind of intense work, and I kind of start to fade. But I can cram in, if I really try or whatever, I can get 8 hours a day sometimes, I guess. Yeah. So the banana, what happens after that? He announces the banana. Lurkmore Narwhal, what is that drawing software? I was just laughing at Lurkmore as a name too. This is Clip Studio. It's pretty nice. I don't have that many complaints. One random, I guess you could call it a complaint, is Clip Studio. It doesn't have good like CMYK coloring function. So for print setup, it's like basically useless. So you need, and that's important for lettering too. So it's not very good at lettering, even though it has good lettering tools. But then when you switch it to CMYK, it always exports with this rich black that, like, I only learned some of this recently, but you don't want rich black for lettering. You want it to be like 0, 0, 0, 100. It's like the C, the M, the Y, the K. They all have numbers 0 through 100. And if you get a 0, 0, 0, 100, that reads as super dark gray. It's not even full black because it's not the richness. But that will never have ghosting because it's only one pass through on the printing. But that's only for lithographic printing too. But everyone uses lithographic printing still if it's over like 500 copies. So for bigger print runs, you definitely should be setting it up in CMYK, or like hiring a letterer that can do that. Like Eric Weathers just does it all without anyone even knowing, and then everything just works perfectly. But Clip Studio cannot do that. It seems like a thing they should add, or maybe we'll add sooner or later, because they released Clip Studio Pro, and I paid for that. I think it was $150, and it gives you like a bunch of more stuff you can do. You can create project files and page layouts and page exports and all that stuff, batch kind of changes, which is very nice, very convenient for comic kind of stuff. But then you can't do like the one thing that's in some ways like the most important. So that's weird. And it has animation, but I haven't messed with that. I've just been using Blender completely for animation. Jose says, sure, I'd love to talk art. Definitely, definitely. 18 people watching. Well, now we got a few people in here. I might try and hang out just for a little bit. See if I can get to an hour maybe and then dip out. But the banana. I could try coloring. Oh, I could see what to do about adding this guy. Munch, munch, crunch, crunch. They're all just eating. This guy's the guy who's telling him what they're eating. Here's the sumo guy edging people out. And then the big banana. Actually, I might draw some little bananas real fast. They do come up in the script later. That's maybe all I need. Just a few little bananas. Save. Down goes Solo. What's up? What's up? 23 people watching. People are coming in when I'm winding down. It's like I'm deliberately being boring now. And more people come in. There we go. 19 people. Now people are leaving. Half of y'all are bots too, I swear. It does seem, if it's not even like bots, it's it's like who comments. Well, I don't know. You know, you can even do like votes. Like you could put out a vote and you say, everyone here vote. It says 19 people watching. If you're watching, vote. And we'll get like 10 votes. And I'm like, that means 9 bots are in the chat right now. You can't go by these numbers. Simply Green, I'm a Russian bot. Beep boop. Of course you are. But we love you nevertheless. Or perhaps because maybe it's a feature, not a bug. You ever think about that? Who knows? So I think tomorrow, I'm working on adding patterns to my buddy Jared's comic. We're adding. Have you guys seen like The Thief and the Cobbler? That kind of old animation. It's kind of some legends behind it, but it has cool like textures that are 2D, even though the space, it kind of implied space is 3D. And sometimes textures look like that, like old school too. Like I've been reading Cerebus. It's pretty fun. And you can see he uses like I don't know if is it called like cellophane textures, like printed ink and cellophane, and then you use an X-Acto knife to cut it out and you slap it over the art and then you get your like texture on that way. But it can't be free transformed in Photoshop, so it's always flat no matter what. And say you had like a checkered one and you threw it over a floor, somehow that still looks good, even though the texture is completely out of perspective, but the floor is drawn in good perspective. That like look, sort of a 1950s cartoony look is one way to describe it. Chuck Jones kind of did it a fair amount too. It looks pretty great. So me and Jared are adding it to one of his comics, and it's going to be a comic that we offer as the bonus comic for the Hotel Story campaign, which is coming up at the end of September. That's kind of my next big campaign after that one. And that technically is actually a bigger campaign than this one, because this is actually a little bit of like an in-between campaign. You know, I ran it really short. I already had the art done. It's one of 6. I'm going to try and do these one of 6 campaigns kind of faster. And then if it gets to a trade, which it'll be like next fall, maybe will be the trade for the first 3, that'll be like an actual Earthbound release. And that will be a big one. And but Hotel Story is all that, like it's already that. It's a 120 page trade sized part 1 of this big fun story that we're doing. Like the way Earthbound was released, the way like all those kind of stories, Cerberus, a lot of my books are released that way, where it's a 2-parter, but the part 1 is really big, you know, so you get a good chunk. Yeah, and Hotel Story is going to be sweet. Sandberg Gerhard on Cerberus was a master. That I've only learned a little bit of this recently, but yeah, it's drawn. Dave Sim had the Gerhard do all the backgrounds, and the backgrounds are amazing. I actually like the look of Cerberus a lot too. He does like the cellophane zipatone only on Cerberus, and it gives it a collage look. Like Cerberus is drawn a slightly different style, and he's the only character who gets the zipatone cellophane on him, and it makes him pop, and it's a lot of fun. It makes it feel a little extra animation-y. It's like a cool feel. Scotty Richards says zipatone. Yeah, but there's like I don't know if there's multiple kinds or whatever. There's like because I think you can just get like texture like yeah, there's you can get the dots, but you can also just get like a fabric texture, like a Middle Eastern fabric texture on cellophane. Cut that out, slap it over stuff. That's a little bit more what we're doing with Jared's comic. His comic is called The Oboe. The other, so what we were talking a little bit, we were working a few days ago, and last summer or last spring there was a convention type thing coming up and where Jared lives, and so he wanted to do some comics for that, and so he took a month off of working on Hotel Story, and he did one 48-page comic, black and white, kind of simple art that now we're making slightly adding more detail a little bit just with the textures, but it was complete and it had a cool feel to it. And that was The Oboe. And then he did one mini comic, and that was Saturn Return, which I read once on a stream. And Saturn Return is for sale for whatever you want to pay. So it's like for free, or tips or whatever on Jared's itch.io. That one's a fan. I get it's like uses the WarioWare characters. It's like a fan comic for WarioWare. And it was a mini comic, I think, originally too. So it's actually literally drawn on like an 8.5 by 11 page folded up 4 times and then slit down the middle. So it becomes a 16-page little mini comic that's super tiny. And each page can only be like 2 panels because then it's too small to even draw. But so he did that in like a weekend. And that one, we reworked it, or mostly him reworked it to make it not WarioWare characters, and then we're going to turn that into an animation because it just turned out really good. It was just a great, fun comic, and it was a mini comic. And then Oboe is like one of the best comics I've ever read. So I was like, damn, Jared, you just randomly draw 2 comics in a month, and they're like both, really damn good. So I'm kind of looking forward to people getting more and more familiar with Jared's work. And I told him, I'm like, you're in your prime, man. Like whatever people, like they say Frank Miller was 28 when he did The Dark Knight, but then he did his prime was like maybe even like it started, maybe it lasted, if it lasted 10 years, then he reinvented himself, had another prime. But like the Daredevil stuff is like a fair bit before that, like 6-7 years before Dark Knight, and then it extended a little bit after Dark Knight. He did Year One and stuff, but it was all his 20s. Now people age a little bit differently. We age kind of slower because of freaking gay frogs shit in our water or whatever, and soy shit, and just general cultural stuff, whatever it is. So I tell myself it could be cope, but I tell myself that the real prime is, like 35 to 45, where it used to be 25 to 35. So I'm 37. So I still got 8 years of my prime. And then you can reinvent yourself and buy another 10 years if you're lucky. I kind of think that's what Mark Millar is doing. He's in his second prime. That's a Napoleon quote. He says you got to reinvent yourself every 10 years. I'm like, that's true. If you look at every artist you like, they all do that because you just can't do the same thing for too long. It gets old, or you kind of conquer it and then it's boring, whatever. So yeah, I got Earthbound Grand Prix is going to be a big epic, kind of fun. I still hesitate to say epic. I don't know about that word. Grand Prix takes place over 3 days with like 20 characters in one location, but it's a big location. Um, so it's not exactly epic, you know. But I do want to do an epic one, but I don't know where to start. Honestly might have to do a bunch of research, but that's okay. I can get into that. But I want to do one like actual war comic that actually follows a war. And I haven't decided if it's nonfiction or fiction because I kind of don't like if fiction tries to do like this a little bit more super authentic style stuff. You just can't do it as good as nonfiction anyway. So you might as well just do nonfiction. But if you heavily research, you can kind of do it. But I'd want to do a war story that's like more about the logistics, about like the behind the scenes, the politics, the characters. Actually, there's an anime that's a lot like that that I really did like. It's called The Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And Jake pointed out, because I was mentioning this on the Creative Block stream, I think, but the Golden Arc of Berserk is all just a war story. But war stories are epic just by nature. But what's fun is if you're actually trying to tell the story of the war, there's no way to tell it, you know, in 20 pages, 60 pages, even 100 pages. You can't tell the story of a war in 100 pages. You could tell it in like maybe 300 pages is like bare minimum. But I'd be like, it'd be cool to try and do it a little bit more than that, even like, I don't know, 900 pages or something. And I want to do one big epic war book. And I know what the title will be too. The title will be Desert Logistics, and it'd have cool font and kind of a cool logo. And I don't even know though if it's fantasy or nonfiction. I don't know if it's like tanks or swords kind of thing. I do really like samurai and swords and knights and shit. I do love that. So maybe that's what it would be. That's a little bit more because at a certain point it gets a little bit weirder of is war just like drones and nukes. That's like a little bit like what? But honestly, actually, that could be a cool if you try and do a little more modern one. It's actually not nukes, you know, because that never happens. Some people say nukes don't exist. That's kind of funny, but it is drones, and it is like weird raids or not. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird, but like raids and planted kind of people in the area, just assets hanging out, waiting to get like activated to take care of a little something, something. Like all that stuff's a little more modern. I guess that's a little more like spy ish. Leo Schultz says War and Peace. You know what? Maybe I'll, because I've seen that's free on YouTube, the Russian version, which is like legendary in 7 hours. And I watched just a few seconds of it and I was like, this is amazing. So I might force myself to watch that. Ricky Dean, I'm here now. Can you start over from the top? I'm kind of just talking about stuff. Okay, here's the conversation. Say you have a prime, say everyone has a prime. We're allowed to enter our prime a little bit later, kind of because of modernity. Back in the day, for comics, the prime was 25 to 35. And that was kind of the prime even for it. It could be me a little bit earlier, like 22 to 32 or whatever. For film, there's these stats that you can throw out that are weird, like Orson Welles made Citizen Kane. He was 25 when he did that. And that's like kind of depressing if you think about it. You're like, oh, the best movie of all time. The dude was 25 and I'm like, I'm 37. You're like, shit, I missed the boat. Haven't even made a movie yet. I'm making a movie soon, but it honestly might suck, but it's a first movie. But I'm not going to finish it if it totally sucks. But I'll make it if it's just okay. I just want to learn and get one out there. But I got some advice from a buddy who I trust, and it's decent advice. But because the one I wrote this script, it's like the husband and wife arguing about whether or not to kill the character in his book. for 90 minutes and it's like more like a two-person play. And he's like, do not do a two-person play as your first movie because you don't want that to be your first movie. Like your first movie should be like a fun genre, like minimalist, low budget genre movie, like your comics, like kind of tension, suspense, adventure. You can do that low budget. And he's like, or a fun like horror movie, low budget horror. And I was like, shoot, that's kind of true. And I sort of wrote one of those too. It's the vampire script, but I was like, the vampire script, I want that to be my second because that being the first is like nerve wracking still. There's even more shit to juggle. So I'm still back to like, no. I got to just make a movie. And that two-person play is easy to make, even if it's kind of, it has a ceiling on who will like it. Like, because it's a two-person play. Like not the only people who like two-person plays are like theater nerds. So it's like, yeah, like Comicsgate might not like it. But the other thing he said, he's like, it's too intellectual. And he's like, and I don't mean that as like a bad, like an insult or whatever. He's like, I just think you should like make it less intellectual. And I was like, I think you're right. So I am going to try and redraft it and make it like a little more fun, maybe a little more like visual, more movie-ish for some parts. But so that was a kind of digression. But so the prime has shifted. Now it's a little bit more like from 35 to 45. And then you can possibly reinvent yourself and buy another 10 years. A lot of artists do that. So you can have a pretty big prime. It could be like 20 years. And maybe you could keep reinventing, but it wouldn't really be like a prime then after that. You can keep reinventing and keep justifying your existence and putting interesting shit out there. Even Frank Miller, I think, is a little bit like that. Like after his 20 years of like being the GOAT, he's still the GOAT, but now what he puts out, it's like you want to check it out, but it's not like it's game changing constantly like he was doing. He was raising the bar for everyone else around him constantly for 20 years or whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of fun to even be like, I only got 10 years. What's my prime going to be? Like I got my whole life to make comics, but my prime, so I want to get out Earthbound Grand Prix. And I do think a little bit of it like Earthbound, Foreign Agent, and Nosferatu. That's like the opening Narwhal trilogy. That's like the kind of punk, young gun punk piece of shit. Doesn't know everything. Still pretty fun, jumping on the scene kind of trilogy. And then Cerberus almost doesn't count. It's like another category because I'm working with Monica, but that's great. I want to continue to do collaborations. And then like, yeah, Grand Prix is kind of the first of a new trilogy where I'm getting better, trying more and more to be like competing more and more with great artists and stuff, trying to make just better. I don't know. But I'm working on Percival. I don't know where that'll go, but I do. That's like could be a big chunk of the prime. Earthbound Grand Prix, and then honestly, the Desert Logistics one might end up being like not made in my prime. But I think about that one. That's the war one. An epic war one would be very fun to do. As far as like where I find inspiration is for like writing, or it's kind of sometimes I'll say it's like the itches that you want to scratch when you're sitting there thinking about what projects to do next, what to try and think of, what to try and write. It's like a lot of minimalist stuff really gets me going, thinking like getting excited and fun. Sometimes thinking about it as a movie first before a comic, because if it's minimalist, I'm like, oh, I can make this as a movie. It doesn't have to be a comic. Some stuff it has to be a comic if it's so big budget or whatever. And so I like the challenge, and I like the open options of minimalist storytelling. But that only comes up once in a while, and then you do that, and you're like, well, I also like the opposite. Like, what about something so insane and big and epic that it could never be a movie anyway? It has to be a comic for that reason. And that's like almost like Berserk, Golden Arc, some of the stuff. But yeah, Leo shit's War and Peace. I gotta watch War and Peace. I gotta watch some YouTube videos about some like campaigns and shit and see what's up with all that. Scotty Richards said, "Can I send you a one-person short movie concept?" Definitely. Do you have my email, Scotty? Email it if you do. Time Goes Solo says, "Finish it, even if it totally sucks." Yeah, I'm definitely gonna start working on it because I know you learn just from doing it. So I'm gonna do that. I'm meeting with some actors next month, and then I'm gonna see if they like commit and want to do it. But if they do, then we'll kind of start working on it. And I realize a lot of the work is the actual filming is sort of, one of the last things. There's a lot of stuff you got to do before that. And I'm looking forward to all the before stuff of even just like a table read, talking to the actors about the characters, figuring out the blocking, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the lighting, maybe some script rewrites just based on some explorations with the table reads, some like improvisation in character. Because I do think if I can evolve it to be a little more like a movie as we're going, and how you can do that, how you can make it more visual, more fun. Dale A says everything on the table is a better script than the vampire one. Facts. Yes, could be. It's better when if I read it out loud on the YouTube for sure. I have faith in the vampire script, but it might just be the second movie. I don't know. But I was thinking today too, I was like, I could make a low budget horror movie because that is inspirational. But then I'm like, what would it even be? I don't know. It's hard. So that kind of low budget stuff is really hard to think of. Scotty says, I'll send it to you. I told Kelsey and he really liked it. Kelsey is great at cinematography. He is. That's cool. Dele, hopefully I'm on the Grandma Moses Prime timeline. Kingdom is a pretty cool manga about the Warring State period of ancient China. Yeah. See, I kind of want to read that. I want to see. There's a movie called The Wind and the Lion that's written by John Milius and directed. And it has some of like the behind the scenes politics and kind of stuff. And there's one scene of like the two agents in Africa going to meet like the agent who's already there, and they're trying to decide what to do. And they kind of hatch a little plan to save these hostages. And they're like, gentlemen, if we fail, it will be World War III and we'll all be killed. And then they're like, so let's hope we don't fail or whatever. And they get all excited and they toast and they're all excited. But that scene is like hilarious. Except I did not just do it justice. I'm trying to remember what they say. The dialogue is so funny. They get like you start to realize like they're like kind of like idiots and they're going to risk World War III for nothing just because they like the rush of it is like kind of the gist. But it's like same time kind of realistic. Like the comedy doesn't lower the stakes or whatever. It's pretty funny. So yeah, if there's a trilogy of collaborations, it's like Cerberus, Hotel Story, and maybe Gold West with Matt Krotz, but we haven't finished it. It's stalled a little bit, but I want to get back to that. I have some other collaborations brewing here and there. And then I have some big projects I want to get going, but I haven't been writing since I finished Everything is on the Table, the latest draft, maybe like a month ago even. I haven't been doing too much writing because it's just there's so much to draw. So it doesn't seem like it's that pressing. But there's a handful of books I really want to do. Scotty says, I have a lot of Twilight Zone or Black Mirror concepts that can be done with one or two actors. That's cool. Yeah, that's sweet. Sometimes I wonder too, it's fun if like they could also be a comic, even if it's minimalist. So it's like a minimalist comic with just two people talking. You're like, well, that could be a movie. But doing it as a comic, that's awesome too. Like that's fun. I love when I see minimalist comics, which it's kind of rare also. Foreign Agent is like that. Foreign Agent is kind of could be a movie, but it's a comic instead. And it's kind of a cool comic for that reason. It kind of stands out. Cool. I'm kind of wrapping up here. I'm going to end the stream, but yeah, everyone keep an eye out for more hotel story news soon. That'll be a pretty fun one to release. And that'll be a big one, and it'll be alive for like 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months. It'll be open. Then it'll close, and we'll fulfill it. So it'll be open a long time. And it's going to be kind of, a big narwhal release, 120 page. It's a lot like Evil Dead 2 is kind of one way to pitch it. Evil Dead 2 mixed with Demons 2. But Evil Dead 2 on a slightly larger scale, but not like a huge scale. Takes place in a hotel. And it's got a lot of the Evil Dead 2, like how like the horror action can get so ridiculous that it almost gets a little bit comedic, like how gory it gets or whatever. Some of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I think I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. And I'll be back later. I'll catch you guys later.